So,
Cool.
Rob, great to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show.
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So before we get into the good work and everything that's a part of who has made you who you are, I want to know 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, I know we're getting tired of talking about COVID, but how did you survive the pandemic and how has it changed the way that you live now?
Yeah, how did I survive the pandemic? I just survived. I think that well actually I'm gonna take that back. I feel like at the time period I felt like I was just surviving. Actually, I felt like my life was a complete train wreck. I was actually going through a separation and divorce through the pandemic, which a lot of people experienced that. I was also going through a career change, going from a digital marketing career business that I had built into coaching, so into leadership and communication coaching. But I was in the transition phase during that 2020 season. And at the time, it felt like everything was falling apart. But two things got me through it, man. Well, more than two, but two that stick out at the top of my mind. Number one, my faith grew incredibly strong during that period of time. So I really leaned on God to get me through it. But also, I started taking Brazilian Jiu Jitsu at that time. And Jiu Jitsu, I think, unknowingly then, but looking back, it got me through so much of the stress, and I put so much of my focus and attention. I was in there 5 or 6 days a week. That was incredible. But those two things were the most powerful coming through it. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Everything we go through, I use this expression a lot in my life and business, but you make your mess your message. So when you get through the mess, the goal is to get through the mess you have, make it a message that you impact other people with. So now, coming out of that, I have an incredible message of perseverance and also just stickability. Like you got to stick with something and push through it to see great breakthrough. And those things were really really profound through that period of time.
So, as a breakthrough expert and leadership communication coach, I want to get to the heart and soul of what you actually do with clients on a daily basis. And to do that, I'm going to put you in front of a third graders. It's career day. One of the kids in the back of the room is curious and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
That's really good because I just spoke to a group of third graders last week and we had a really good discussion. And the thing that I focused on with them was we're all given specific gifts and we have specific strengths that we just naturally have that we're born with, right? And don't take those things for granted. Make those things better. Really spend time strengthening yourself in the things that you're great at, not focusing on the things that you're not great at. What are the gifts that you naturally are acclimated towards? Chase after those things. So, a question I always love to ask people, and I ask you this question, Joe. What is something you wanted to do when you were 10 years old? When you were 10 years old, who did you want to be?
I wanted to be with Poncherelli on Chips. I wanted to be a motorcycle cop in LA.
And what are you doing now? Hosting this podcast and what else?
Well, I'm a visual artist. That's one of my paintings. I'm a writer. I'm an IT pro by day for a school district.
Cool. So what was it about Poncherelli and Chips? What were there was components of that, not necessarily maybe the job itself, but components of what he did and what that was all about that you loved. What were those things?
So I didn't have an instrument when I was a kid. So I thought the best way to get a girl would be to ride a motorcycle and be the law guy. I figured that would be my ends to like get all of the girls in the 80s movies that I was going for. It was my ends. And I just thought it was cool. It was just, they had the shades and they had the whole outfit. It was cool.
Okay. So something about, making yourself desirable, something about making yourself stand out, that you had a platform that I guess I'll ask you this, a platform of influence. Was that what you would say it was?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
you're able to influence others?
Yeah.
Um, So I look at like the 10-year-old structure of like, 'cause I wanted to be a radio DJ and a professional wrestler. The professional wrestler didn't work out. The radio DJ, I spent 20 years doing that. And so there was something about that for me also of being a figure of influence and wanting to impact people and wanting to be able to communicate well. I didn't realize that back then, but as I got older, I realized, wow, I really wanted to be able to help people and I wanted to bring myself out of my own shell. So I don't know about for you, but there's always a sign at that 10-year-old marker. You might not be doing the thing, like you might not be a bike cop now, but there's components of that
Yep.
that bled throughout the rest of your life and into your career that you're still doing to this day. Obviously, this podcast is an extension of that. And so there's signs there because 10 years old, you're old enough to know what you love inherently without needing a reason, and you're young enough where the world hasn't influenced you too much yet to like beat that creativity out of you.
Yeah.
So I encourage these third graders, right? That creativity that you have, hold on to that, tap into that, and use that as you move forward in life. And that's, as a leadership coach, that's what I do, a communication coach. You need to be creative. You have to use the creativity that God gave you, because so many people are uncreative. We get stuck so many times in life in different areas, and we need breakthrough. We have to break that glass ceiling, have to get past that one thing, that big thing that's holding us back, right? Our creativity will get us there, but under stress, and if we're trying to copy after other people, if we're doing a lot of comparison, then we can't tap into our creativity.
Yeah.
Leadership and great communication is all about creativity, all about thinking on your feet, and for lack of a better term, it's all about thinking outside of the box. It's thinking in ways that are definitely able, we're all able to tap into this, but a lot of people don't tap into it because they're so confined in the way that they approach situations and approach the world. So if I speak to a group of third graders, it's like, listen, you guys are already super creative. You already know what you love. You inherently just know what you want to do because you love doing those things. Don't lose that. Hold on to that. And when you see opportunities to use those things, go and use them at your disposal. And at the same time, always keep your sights on how are you serving people.
Yeah.
And I explain that to a group of third graders, like, when you're supposed to help somebody, so do it. We all have that internal compass that's like, wow, I should help. I should make sure that I'm contributing, and if somebody needs something, I'm giving something to them. I'm giving more of myself than I'm taking. Use that all the time. And when you think about, there was this kid who was really into hunting, and he wanted to be like a hunting guide. And I said, so think about that. You get to help people because they don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to go out into the woods and find the right spot to get the right animal that they want to get. But you love hunting. That's one of your gifts you've been given. Go out there and help somebody else achieve that. And now you're creating these win-wins. You win because you love what you're doing. They win because they're learning how to be a great hunter. And their family gets to benefit from that because they got a deer, and now there's deer meat. Now people get to eat, and you get paid, and your business grows. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of how I explain what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember I had to have a conversation with my stepdaughter a few years ago with just things that were going on in life. Like I was like, the one thing that you have is your dream. Protect it. Really make sure, because that's the one thing people can't take away from you. There's a lot of things that can dent your armor, but protect that. And then taking it a step further and like leading that out to other people, it's just going to make everything so much better. It's
Yeah, man, because when you're doing something that you naturally just, and I explained to them also, we have things that we are good at doing, but we might not love doing them.
yeah,
And those things are going to sap your energy. So you might fall into a situation where you're really good at something, but you don't get energy from doing it. That might be something that gets you through a period of your life, but chase those things, man, that you love doing them. They fill you up full of energy and they help other people, and you can't lose. You cannot lose doing that.
amen. So let me ask you this. Take me back to your childhood where you were born and raised. How did the seeds of broadcasting, leadership, communication, how did all of these things get planted and harvested into who you are?
Well, I was a horrible communicator. I mean, I actually have a chapter in a book that I wrote called The Bold Art of Being Yourself. And it's like I had a version of me inside of me that I didn't know how to get out.
Yeah.
So I was very low self-confidence, low self-esteem, just very unsure of myself. And I really I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't really know who I was or how to be me. And so unknowingly getting into broadcasting, like radio's kind of a dying art form in the sense that if I was 10 years old today, I would have been doing a YouTube show in my bedroom.
Yeah.
But I was doing a pretend radio show in my bedroom, and radio was perfect for me because I could hide in a room all by myself, yet I could talk to thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like, what a great introvert dream. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so through the years, I didn't realize this in broadcasting. I did not realize this as I was in radio growing up, and I was really feeding my own ego. I was trying to like make myself feel better. Like I was looking for adulation. But as I got out of it back in 2017 and started to have like some years separated from it, I noticed that what I did was I learned how to communicate effectively. I learned how to be myself. I learned how to, command attention, and then then I had to learn, oh, I need to do this for people though. I did this for me. And one of the things I'd always heard in my radio career, especially towards the end, the last like 5 or 6 years, I ran a pretty popular morning show. And I still to this day get recognized on a regular basis in the area where I live because, and it's been 7 years since I've been on the air, and people still are like, "Hey, Rob Z." My radio name was Rob Z, and I kind of kept that as time went on because it stuck. Rob Z, I've loved you on the radio. I still hear. I heard that a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Like, and I look back like, man, I left an impact on people's lives, and I wasn't even trying to. I wasn't even thinking about that. So
Yeah.
if I'm intentional about leaving an impact, imagine the impact that I can leave. And basically, that was it over the years. I just unknowingly was teaching myself how to be myself and understanding that one of the biggest things when you're helping train somebody in broadcasting or making videos, right? They're like, I hate the way I sound, I hate the way I look. And I'm like, listen, everybody already knows what you sound like. Everybody already knows what you look like, and they don't seem to care because they communicate with you. They're cool with you. It's you getting used to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest lesson is you getting used to you and actually liking you for your quirks and your mannerisms. And if there's something you don't like, how else can you become, how else can you change it unless you become aware of it? So that awareness is everything.
Who was your hero growing up? Who was your inspiration?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. 'Cause like in radio, I didn't have like radio DJs that I like loved. Um, I loved professional wrestling. So it was like Hulk Hogan and
Yeah.
the Macho Man and the Ultimate Warrior and then, Stone Cold and The Rock. That was like, and then I loved music too, right? So music I really looked up to like the Beastie Boys I thought were the coolest. When Snoop Dogg when he came out, I thought he was the coolest. And people like that. Who else did I really love? The Red Hot Chili Peppers. I thought they were amazing growing up. So I looked more to like those people. As I didn't because I like Howard Stern was. I listened to him, but I didn't love Howard Stern. Yeah, there wasn't anybody that necessarily stuck out to me as like, holy smokes, that's growing up. That's the person that I want to be in the broadcasting realm. I wanted to be like 6'7" and 300 pounds,
Yeah.
some muscle bound freak, and that wasn't
Yeah.
that wasn't in the cards. So, but as I got older, though, I really started to look up. I always looked up to Arnold Schwarzenegger. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah.
Just his vision and what he did with his life, absolutely incredible. Tony Robbins was somebody that I always looked up to. Um, there's a number of people on that list that when I started to get a little bit older, those are the ones that really stuck out to me. But as time has gone on, my whole perception and perspective of who I look to for mentors and even the concept of a mentor has changed dramatically over the years. And I've refined that more and more. And I found that the people that I really idolized when I was younger actually led me down some bad paths. They led me down paths of addiction and a bunch of different stuff that I didn't recognize at the time was that's where this that's where these I guess you could say idols were taking me, but that's kind of where they took me. But it's interesting you asking that. When I was young, I loved radio, but I didn't have somebody I looked up to in it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting. And it makes so I see all the books behind you. Which one of your favorite books? What's one of the seminal reads that you've had in your life?
Well, the Bible's number one on the list for that one. That book, there's just never enough great information there. Proverbs is my favorite book in there. Proverbs is just a phenomenal book. But also on top of that, The Slight Edge was one that changed my life. The Slight Edge is like, simple daily disciplines, easy to do, easy not to do. That's one that always sticks out to me. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, absolute classic. Uh, Another really, really powerful book. Oh, as I look, mm, well, you have Total Recall from Schwarzenegger. That's one
Yeah.
of my favorites. That his autobiography is just amazing. Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership, another absolutely incredible book. Presentation Essentials, great book on speaking. Story Brand, amazing book for building your brand. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I would put that right near the top of the list also. Screw It, Let's Do It, Richard Branson. I love that super simple short book that is really impactful because of how simple it is. I could go on for days and days. Imagine Heaven, amazing book on near-death experiences that will change your life. Um, yeah, so those are a few that had very profound impacts on me. Another great book back here, Let It Go. I think Let It Go is such a great message because we live in a world of comparison. and we're always stewing on things. And I'm somebody who will like I'll get obsessed on something, but learning to let things go,
Yeah.
there's nothing better.
It's huge. It's huge. So let me ask you this. You're giving a lot of yourself to help your clients get to a better place. What is that motivation for you every day to give that kind of energy? But you also have to evolve as a human yourself. What is that collective energy every day for you?
Well, I just feel so called to help people. I love helping people and I love learning about people, like how to win friends and influence people, right? Being genuinely interested in other people. That used to be the exact opposite of who I was. I remember when I first listened to Tony Robbins and he talked about to be a great business owner, you have to be a servant first. And I was like, what? Why would I need to be a servant? It's like a decade ago, that didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
So my mindset is completely flipped to where like, oh, of course, like I want to be serving people at all times and working with somebody one on one or working with a team of people and being like a Trojan horse is really cool to me. Like going in, they need to grow their business, but what they really need, like they want to grow their business, but what they need is develop themselves as people. They need personal leadership in their life and helping people have those aha moments and seeing the light bulbs go off. And so I have a podcast too, Joe. It's called The Unstuck Movement, right? And The Unstuck Movement, True Testimonies of Breakthrough. It's about how people get unstuck
Yeah.
from really difficult places in their life. That is what fascinates me. I love the story of how somebody got unstuck, how somebody overcame something that at some point in their life they were like, I'll never get out of this. And they got through it. And
Yeah.
when they got through it, everything changed because they had this massive breakthrough. That just fires me up, man. I just get fired up. I get fired up by people who overcame things that they didn't think they could overcome, other people didn't think they could overcome, and then creating something bigger than what they ever thought they could create.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
Absolutely. So who would be a dream guest for you to have on your show?
I think that, a lot of the stories that we talk about on the Unstuck movement are great stories, but they're let me back up here for a second. Who would be a dream guest? It's like somebody I've never heard tell their story before. I'd have to, because I've heard lots of people that I admire tell their stories, but I'd love to hear somebody. Oh, that's a really good question, man. Who would be a dream guest that I would love to have on my show? I could probably go back to one of the books that I just pointed to. I mean, boy, I tell you what, Dale Carnegie would be an amazing guy if he was still alive. Napoleon Hill would have been an amazing guy if he was still alive. But somebody who's alive today, there's a guy, Todd White. I would love to have him on my show. There's a guy, Ty Lopez. I think he'd be a really cool guest on the show. There is. I'll have to think more on that.
Yeah.
The reason is I'd like to have somebody because this I want to have somebody tell their story that like they've never really told it before. And it's something that somebody doesn't people don't really know about, but their story is absolutely incredible. So actually, you've inspired me, man. I'm gonna have to write my list
I love it. I
because
absolutely love it.
I'm the kind of person, and I do have vision for my life and my career. But when it comes to the podcast, I let people come to me. I ask for referrals, and
Yeah.
the referrals are amazing. So I kind of leave myself open to like, I don't want to steer this thing. I'm kind of letting the right people come in. And then when the right person comes in and I get referrals from that person, it's incredible the
Yeah.
conversations that I have. But I'm
Yeah.
going to make that list. You've challenged me. Thank
I
you for
love it.
that.
Absolutely. So, of everything that you've done and evolved into, there's so much that you've talked about that has become a part of your world. What are you the proudest of?
I'm most proud of the progress that I've made because I brought myself out of some really bad spots. I brought myself out of yeah, 10 years ago, I never would guess that I was the person that I am today. And so, but I knew I wanted to be. And so I got to give the glory to God, number one. But I have to recognize like, man, I didn't think I would be this version of myself, and things just keep getting better. And so, to point to one thing that I'm the most proud of, I know that I'm evolving and growing as a human, right? So, I recognize that coming from a person who I really had low self-esteem, I really had a lot of addiction issues, and I was never happy with myself, and I was just so hard on myself. And I'm not saying I'm not still hard on myself a little bit, right? That those things hard, long habits like that can be hard to break, but I'm getting better and better and better at it. But I recognize the better I get at it and the more I let it go, the better things get. So I'm just really happy with myself that I've went from somebody who never stuck to anything to somebody who sticks to the right things and keeps moving forward with them.
Yeah,
And that changes your it changes your whole mindset because now I look at this like, and you could probably attest to this. I don't really know you at all, but I think you could attest to this doing what you're doing. Once you start off on a path of self-discovery and personal development and building your own thing, you could never go back. I could never go back to just working my job and then stopping for the day and putting it down and I don't got to go back to work until tomorrow. I'm dreading going back to work. It's like life's like exciting. Like life's meant to be an adventure. And
yeah,
that's not meant to be stressful. It's meant to be fun. And
yeah,
so that's the thing I'm most proud of is like, wow, I'm building a life for myself where I love getting to work every day.
yeah,
I get to do this. I don't have to do it. Even in radio, it was a lot of fun, but I would feel like I had to do it because I kind of had to do it.
yeah.
But now I get to, and I understand that concept, and that's a really good feeling.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Everyone that tunes into your show, all of your clients, family, friends, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I am a spiritual being living a physical existence experience here on Earth. I think that I am somebody who's just continuing to grow and evolve. I'm a an unfinished piece of art, perhaps. You know,
Yeah,
it's like just constantly progressing. That's how I'd choose to view myself because the job's never finished. Are That's one of the coolest things I find about pursuing God is like the goalpost constantly gets moved, but it's always moved in a positive direction. So as I grow, there's always another challenge, but the
yeah,
challenges are opportunities. And so I see myself as just unfinished business. There's still more to be done. Um, that'd be the best way to describe it, I guess.
I dig it. So as we established up front, you're a Steelers fan. I'm in Kansas City, and we got a pretty good team. So I got to ask you this. We get off the call, and you can get into a time machine and go back in time and see one game with your own eyes. Where are you going?
Oh, wow. It's got to be a football game?
It can be any game.
Oh, it could be any game. I'd love to go back to the first like couple UFC events. Those would be fun to see
Yeah,
live because they were just ridiculous.
yeah,
It would be really cool to go back in time and see, well, the Reception. That'd
yeah,
be an amazing game to see. Um, I would have loved to have been when the Steelers beat the Cardinals in the Super Bowl. That was an incredible victory. That would have
yeah,
been wild to have been in that stadium.
yeah,
Um, then also, if we go to the pro wrestling end, I would love when Hogan slammed Andre. That would have been insane to be at,
yeah,
way back in
yeah,
the day, or when Warrior beat Hogan. Like those kind of moments would have been really cool. It was just the energy in the crowd for an event like that would have been just electric. So
yeah.
those are the few that pop out.
I love it. Great list, man. Rob, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If anyone wants to listen to your show, hire you, reach out, any of the good business, where do they go?
They can go to leadimpacttransform.com. That's my website. Top right hand corner, there's a schedule button. I love to talk to people. So just click that link, schedule a 30-minute call with me. We can chat about whatever you want to chat about. And if you want to find me on social media, go to LinkedIn, Rob Z. Wentz, and you can find me there.
I love it. Rob, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. I'm so glad we met. Great. Just keep doing the wonderful work, man. I love it.
Thanks, Joe. Same to you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. Take care.
See you.
All right, we're out, man. Rob, thank you. I appreciate it. This has been wonderful. Good luck to the Steelers. When I was a kid, I made a bet on Monday Night Football between the Oilers and the Steelers, and I used to wear a Steelers sweatsuit as a kid, and I ripped that patch off and gave it to my third grade crush. And I found out on Facebook years later she still had that patch. So the Steelers are floating around in a patch.